Fungi generally don't cause too many diseases in healthy individuals. Usually, fungal infections are found more commonly in individuals with immune-compromised syndromes, such as in HIV/AIDS patients or people on immunosuppressant drugs. In this case, these individuals most often suffer and die from fungal infections. These are referred to as opportunistic infections or opportunistic pathogens because these particular microorganisms tend to not cause disease unless one's immune system is already weak. First, let's talk about fungal lung infections. There are 4 different fungal diseases that can affect the lungs in the United States: histoplasmosis, blastomycosis, cryptococcosis, and coccidioidomycosis, otherwise known as valley fever. For people who are healthy, exposure to these fungi cause mild to no symptoms. But again, it can be fatal if you have HIV or AIDS, or are organ recipients, taking immunosuppressive drugs, cancer patients, or people who are otherwise have immune deficiencies. Histoplasma capsulatum is the cause of histoplasmosis. It grows in soil and materials contaminated with bat and bird droppings, and it is most commonly found in central and eastern United States, especially in the Ohio and Mississippi River valleys. It can be noted that it will be also found in parts of Central and South America, Africa, Asia, and Australia. Approximately 60 to 90% of the people who live in these areas have been exposed to the fungus during their lifetime. But again, it causes almost no symptoms. Histoplasma has an interesting lifestyle. In the environment, it grows in a thread-like mycelial phase noticed under the microscope. But at body temperature, these thread-like cell shapes morph into a yeast-like phase, with cells that are more oval in appearance. Antifungal medication is available and can save lives in individuals that are immune compromised. Blastomycosis is caused by Blastomyces dermatitis, which lives in moist soil and decomposing organic matter such as wood and leaves, found mainly in the Mississippi River Valley and the Great Lakes region. People can get blastomycosis by inhaling the fungal spores from the air. Like histoplasma, blastomyces also has similar mycelial and yeast-like phases that it transitions depending on the temperature in which it's growing. Valley fever, also called coccidioidomycosis, is a fungal infection that occurs when dust containing Coccidioides immitis spores is inhaled. This fungus lives in the soil of the southwestern United States and parts of Mexico and South America. Arizona, California, Nevada, New Mexico, and Utah report an average of 40 cases per 100,000 people each year. Rates of infection are highest among people aged 60 to 79 years of age. These cases are on the rise in the last few years for unknown reasons. Cryptococcus gattii is present in British Columbia and the Pacific Northwest, as well as in many tropical and subtropical areas of the world. These infections are pretty rare and referred to as cryptococcosis. Besides the lungs, the central nervous system may also be affected. Cryptococcus neoformans lives in the environment throughout the world. Like Cryptococcus gattii infections, these infections are very rare, but Cryptococcus neoformans can cause serious infections in people with HIV and AIDS or other weakened immune systems. Then there are other types of fungal infections, including fungal infections of the skin and mucosal layers. This includes ringworm. Ringworm, or the Taenia group of mycoses, is caused by a type of fungus that grows on the skin called dermatophytic fungi. These fungi thrive and feed off of keratin, which is a non-living protein layer that's on the surface of skin and helps skin become impervious to water. Heat and moisture favor the growth of these fungi, resulting in their being found primarily in skin folds, such as in the groin region and between the toes. There are different ways that we describe the name of these ringworm infections depending on where they're located. Tinea capitis is ringworm on the scalp. Tinea cruris is ringworm in the groin area, also referred to as jock itch. And Tinea pedis is ringworm between the toes, otherwise known as athlete's foot. I know that this disease is generally referred to as ringworm, but importantly, this is caused by a fungus. It just forms a ring-like shape on the skin, which makes some individuals think that it's a worm causing the infection, but it is not. Symptoms of all these different diseases are manifested by itchiness, scaly appearance. Athlete's foot is in fact quite common and easily acquired by walking on wet surfaces, such as around a pool or on a shower floor. It can be transmitted by person-to-person contact and by sharing combs, brushes, clothing, and other personal articles. Finally, our last infectious disease in this chapter is candidiasis, caused by primarily Candida albicans, which is a yeast cell. The most common form of yeast infection is vaginitis, which can be a yeast infection in the vagina of the human female. Another version of this infection found in the throat is called oral thrush. In this case, the yeast is in the oral cavity or in the back of the throat and can affect both males and females. In both cases, either vaginitis or oral thrush, the yeast cells are able to grow because of an imbalance in the normal microbiota of the area, resulting in the overgrowth of yeast that is naturally present there. While candidiasis isn't fun, it's generally not life-threatening. However, invasive candidiasis can be serious and potentially life-threatening. It can be caused by Candida albicans or other species of Candida, and is more likely to occur in those individuals that are immunocompromised, especially HIV or AIDS patients. In invasive candidiasis, the yeast enters the bloodstream, causing a bloodstream infection and spreading throughout the body. Thankfully, drug therapy is available for all forms of candidiasis, unless we're talking about Candida auris. Candida auris is an emerging fungus that presents a serious global health threat. It's resistant to commonly used antifungal drugs, and about 30 to 60% of patients infected with Candida auris die. It is a troubling and unexpected disease, and CDC and World Health Organization experts are quite concerned about this emerging pathogen. Well, that's it for this chapter. I hope you enjoyed learning about our last grouping of infectious microorganisms. We're then going to move on in future chapters discussing our immune response and how we as a world population can deal with these various diseases.